Hello everybody. Today I'm gonna talk about a very important historical figure in Chinese history. He's Confucius, born Kongqiu. We also call him Kongzi. He was a Chinese philosophy of the spring and autumn period, who is considered the paragon of Chinese sages. Much of the shared cultural heritage of Sinosphere originates in the philosophy and his teaching. So, what is Sinosphere? That is Chinese cultural sphere, East Asian cultural sphere. It encompasses multiple countries in East Asia and Southeast Asia that are deeply influenced by Chinese culture. So this country comprise like Japan, North Korea, South Korea, Singapore, and Vietnam, not just China. So if you visit there, you will see that's a society deeply influenced by Chinese culture back in history. So this video gonna tell you the information about this figure, and I think it's really worth you listening and learning from. So his philosophical teaching called Confucianism emphasized personal and governmental morality, harmonious social relationships, and righteousness, kindness, and sincerity, and a ruler responsibility to lead by virtue. Okay, that's enough for introduction. Today I'm gonna share the story about him. So the story that broke Confucius. Imagine spending your entire life teaching people one simple lesson. When you're afraid, don't let fear make the decision for you. Ask first, look closer, learn before you judge. Now imagine that after decades of teaching this, you see a group of people find an animal they don't recognize. It looks like a deer, but it has a horn. They don't ask what it is, they injure it first. Then they brought it back to town. The people in charge look at it and basically say, that thing has bad vibes. So they stood outside the city and our teacher arrived. He recognized the animal immediately. He started crying, and the teacher is Confucius. And according to tradition, this was the moment he said, my way has run out of road. Now before this turns into a Chinese version of Harry Potter, this is not really a story about a magical animal. It's about questions that still matter today. What do people do when they meet something they don't understand? So the animal was called a qilin. People often translate as a Chinese unicorn, but that's not right. Don't picture it as a rainbow horse. Think of it more like a rare, sacred animal whose appearance was supposed to mean the country was being ruled by someone decent. Not perfect, not utopia, but a society where power had learned not to be cool. For an American comparison, imagine a bald eagle, but with a deeper moral meaning. It's just not an animal. It represents something a country claims to believe about itself. Now imagine someone finds the eagle, don't recognize it, injure it, call it a bad omen, and dump it by the highway. You will not be upset about the bird. You will ask, what did it say about us that we couldn't recognize what it represented? That is what the qilin means in the story. Here's the thing. The people who heard it are not written as cartoon villains. They're not sitting around saying today I want to destroy innocence. They're scared. They don't know what they're looking at. This is what makes it worse, because this is how cruelty often works in real life, not always through hatred, sometimes through panic, sometimes through laziness, sometimes through the sentence. I don't understand this, so I'm going to assume it. Assume it is a threat. You see this in school. A kid acts differently, so everyone calls him weird. You see at work, someone has an accent, an unfamiliar background, strange idea, and people decide they're not a good fit. You see online, someone sees something complicated before anyone tries to understand it. The internet turns it into a joke. So why is this heat Confucius harder than politics? This is where the story gets much deeper. Confucius had spent years trying to persuade rulers to govern better. He watched political betrayal, violence, corruption, power struggle, and people say one thing public while doing the opposite in private. He had been ignored, pushed aside, cast aside, seen enough disappointment to fill several Netflix seasons. And still he kept teaching. He believed people could be trained to be better. Not become angels, not become perfect. Just pause before acting on fear. Pause before humiliating someone. Pause before using power carelessly. So why would one strange animal break him? Because qilin was not just an animal, it was real life stress test. The problem was not only that the politicians were corrupt, the problem was the ordinary human being when faced with something unfamiliar. They they go with, I don't know what this is, better heard it first, then justify afterwards. For Confucius, this was devastating because his life's work was based on one belief. Human beings can be educated out of their worst instincts. And suddenly he saw the moment that made him wonder whether they could. My quote, my way has run out of road. When Confucius said this, it's not nobody likes me. It's not I'm the only intelligent person left. It is closer to the road I believe could lead people towards a better place has hit all. Or I don't know how to reach people anymore. He's not crying because he lost the debate. He is not crying because he has watched his entire moral philosophy fail in real time. He spent decades saying, "Never before you judge. Control yourself before you act. Don't let fear become violence." Then someone sees something familiar and breaks its leg. That's why it hurts. So, what does this have to do with the spring and autumn and nails? This is his writing. So this is his book. It sounds like a boring historical record, like a old spreadsheet, but it's more than that. Think of it as Confucius keeping a public record when powerful people were trying to spin the truth. A ruler could call coup restoring order. A minister could betray loyalty. A killing could be dressed as necessary. Confucius' project was to keep the moral labels from being hijacked. He said, call it what it was. So, it is not just history, it was his attempt to stop powerful people from rewriting history, rewriting reality. So, this is the link. The book could correct the story after something terrible happened, but the chilling incident showed him something even more frightening. What if the problem begins before language. What if people are already acting on fear before anyone can anyone can correct the record? His book could say this was cruelty, but it couldn't go back in time and stop someone from breaking Qilin's leg. So this is why the qilin becomes the symbolic final page of the book. Not because the magical creature told him to quit, but because he saw the limit of writing. Writing can preserve the truth, can expose the lie, can give future generation better words. But writing cannot stop the first blow. Even though the spring and autumn annals it's an attempt to push back against this older age and return things to what is right. The twist is that he did not actually leave nothing behind. He felt defeated, but he did not burn his writing. He didn't say, forget humanity, I'm done. The Confucian tradition say he wrote for people not yet born, for future leader, for someone in another century who might actually understand what he was trying to protect. This is very Chinese idea. You may not win your own time, but you can leave a moral record for someone else. You can write something like, let's say, this happened, this was wrong, don't let them rename it. This is long-term responsibility. So there is, in Tang Dynasty, there is another very famous, well-known poet. Every Chinese know. He's Li Bai. So he picked up this image. He wrote, my ambition is to preserve and pass on what matters, to let its light reach 1,000 future spring. If I can stand with the sages, I too will lay down my pen at the captured qilin. He doesn't use the qilin to see I quit. He uses it as a threshold. He say, so it means I will keep writing, I will keep trying, I will keep believing language can matter. But if the world becomes so broken and even this is useless, then this is the day I stop. So this is the seriousness of someone who understands what writing is for. So the real tragedy is now a mystical creature appear. Is that people made something they didn't understand, and their first instinct was to hurt it. They called it dangerous. They threw it away. Confucius cried because he saw an entire series of human improvement collapse into one small thing. A frightened person, a strange creature, one broken leg. All societies have never been even asked what it has done. This is why the stories still matter. Every era has its own qilin. A person who don't understand an unfamiliar idea, a vulnerable life, a truth that makes us uncomfortable. The question is not, would you believe in a qilin? The question is, before you understand something, what will you do? So that's a story about Confucius today. There are many other interesting stories about him, but I will choose the one that's not being talked about that much. So I'm finding many material, many books to find the information. I really wanna, find something valuable in Chinese culture that could be brought to this platform to the European and the American society, to promote the cross-cultural communication. Even though now nobody is watching my video, but I think I will keep doing what I'm doing, and one day I may get more followers. I mean, more people may begin to recognize the value of my video. I really appreciate it. I hope see you next time. Bye.